The moment I met Julia, my life started to shift in ways I hadn't anticipated. She walked into my life like a soft breeze on a stifling day, effortlessly charming, disarmingly kind, and utterly confident in her own skin. Julia wasn't just a person. She was an experience. And somehow, against all odds, she saw something in me. It started at a coffee shop. I was sitting alone in my favorite corner, pretending to read a book while sipping lukewarm cappuccino. Truthfully, I was watching people, their lives, their movements, the ease with which they carry themselves. Julia was one of them, sitting at the next table, tapping away on her laptop. She had this aura about her, an air of familiarity, as if she belonged in any space she occupied. Her shoulder-length chestnut hair framed her face perfectly, and her laughter, soft, melodic, floated over the muted hum of conversation around us. When her eyes met mine, it was as if she saw through me, piercing the layers of careful concealment I had built over the years. I immediately looked down, embarrassed to be caught staring, but to my surprise, she smiled. A genuine, warm smile. And just like that, Julia became the first person in years to cross the invisible barrier I had built around myself. She introduced herself without hesitation, sliding into the chair opposite me. "I noticed you've been reading the same page for 20 minutes, she teased lightly. "Care to tell me what's so captivating?" I stammered, fumbling for words, but Julia didn't seem to mind. She leaned in, her eyes twinkling with curiosity, and I found myself telling her more than I had told anyone in years. We talked for hours that day, and when it was time to part, Julia scribbled her number on a napkin and handed it to me. "I like you," she said simply. "Call me." Julia and I quickly became inseparable. She had this way of making me feel seen, truly seen, in a way no one else ever had. It wasn't long before I shared my deepest secret with her, one that I had guarded fiercely for most of my life. "I've always felt different," I confessed one evening, sitting cross-legged on her living room floor. Julia was perched on the couch, painting her nails a bright shade of coral. "I don't think I've ever really fit into the box people expect me to." She didn't look up right away, letting my words hang in the air. "Finally," she said, "different how?" I hesitated, my heart pounding. I've always felt more comfortable expressing myself in ways that aren't traditionally masculine. I love wearing women's clothes. Dresses, skirts, makeup, it feels right. It feels like me. Julia set down the nail polish and looked at me with an intensity that made me squirm. "Thank you for telling me," she said softly. "That takes courage." I felt a lump rise in my throat. "You don't think it's weird?" "Why would I?" she replied, tilting her head. "Clothes are just fabric. Makeup is just pigment. If it makes you happy, who cares?" Her acceptance hit me like a tidal wave, washing away years of shame and self-doubt. That night, for the first time, I felt free. Our shared wardrobe started as a joke. One afternoon, Julia was rummaging through her closet, tossing clothes onto her bed. "I have nothing to wear," she complained, holding up a floral sundress with a critical eye. I was sitting on the floor, scrolling aimlessly through my phone. "You have an entire closet full of options," I pointed out. "Correction. We have an entire closet full of options," she shot back, a sly grin spreading across her face. I laughed, thinking she was joking, but Julia wasn't one to make empty offers. She pulled out a flowy blouse and held it up to my chest. "This would look amazing on you," she said thoughtfully. Before I could protest, she handed me a pair of skinny jeans and a set of earrings. "Go try these on." I hesitated. "Julia, I don't know." "No excuses," she interrupted, wagging a finger at me. "You're always saying how much you admire my style. Consider this your chance to live the dream." Her enthusiasm was infectious, and before I knew it, I was standing in front of her full-length mirror, wearing an outfit that felt more me than anything I had ever worn before. The blouse was soft against my skin, and the jeans hugged my frame in a way that felt both unfamiliar and exhilarating. "You look stunning," Julia said, clapping her hands together. "Like, seriously? That color does wonders for you." I felt my cheeks flush, but beneath the embarrassment was a growing sense of pride. For the first time, I felt like the person staring back at me in the mirror was someone I wanted to get to know better. What started as an experiment quickly became a routine. Julia and I spent countless evenings trying on outfits, mixing and matching pieces from her wardrobe and mine. She taught me how to do my makeup, patiently guiding me through the steps until I could create a smoky eye without poking myself in the eye with an eyeliner pencil. Being fabulous is an art, she joked one night, handing me a tube of mascara. And I'm the Picasso of glam. Our shared wardrobe became a metaphor for our friendship, an open, honest space where we could be ourselves without judgment. Julia encouraged me to step out of my comfort zone, to embrace the parts of myself I had long hidden away. And in return, I offered her a perspective she hadn't considered before. "You've taught me so much about identity," she admitted one evening as we sat on her balcony, sipping wine. "About how it's not about fitting into a box, but about creating your own." Her words stayed with me, a reminder of how far I had come since that first day in the coffee shop. Of course, it wasn't always easy. There were moments of doubt, of fear, of questioning whether I was ready to face the world as my true self. But Julia was always there, her unwavering support a constant source of strength. One day, she surprised me with a gift, a red dress with a cinched waist and a flowing skirt. "For when you're ready," she said, handing it to me. The dress became a symbol of my journey, a tangible representation of the person I was becoming. It hung in my closet for weeks, a silent challenge, until one day, I decided I was ready. I wore it to a party Julia was hosting, my heart pounding as I walked into the room. But the moment I stepped through the door, Julia was there, beaming at me with pride. "You look amazing," she whispered, pulling me into a hug. "I'm so proud of you." That night, surrounded by friends who saw and accepted me for who I was, I felt a sense of belonging I had never known before. Julia and I continue to share our wardrobe, but it's more than just clothes. It's a bond, a connection, a celebration of the people we are and the people we are becoming. Together, we have created a space where authenticity thrives, where self-expression is celebrated, and where love, unconditional, unyielding, reigns supreme. And in that shared space, I have found not only a friend, but also a reflection of my truest self. Our shared wardrobe had turned into something bigger than just a collection of clothes. It became a living, breathing entity in its own right, a kaleidoscope of textures, colors, and possibilities that bridged the gap between the person I had been and the one I was becoming. It wasn't just about fashion, it was about freedom, about giving myself permission to explore without fear. Julia, true to her vibrant nature, took every opportunity to push me further. "You've got to try this," she said one evening, holding up a vintage leather jacket with oversized lapels. "You look like a rock star." I raised an eyebrow. "A rock star? Really?" "Trust me," she insisted, tossing it onto the bed. "Pair it with those black jeans we hemmed last week and the ankle boots. Oh, and don't forget the eyeliner." I laughed, but Julia wasn't kidding. Within minutes, she had me dolled up in an ensemble that felt daring yet oddly natural. As I twirled in front of the mirror, something clicked inside me. It wasn't just about the clothes, it was about the attitude they gave me, the way they allowed me to step into a version of myself I hadn't known existed. One Saturday morning, Julia and I decided to tackle a new challenge: shopping together. Up until then, all our wardrobe adventures had been confined to the safety of her apartment. Stepping out into the world as myself was a daunting prospect, but Julia wouldn't hear any excuses. "It's just clothes," she reminded me as we walked into a bustling boutique downtown. "No one's going to care as much as you think they will." She was right, of course, but that didn't make it any less terrifying. My heart raced as we browsed the racks, my fingers brushing against soft fabrics and intricate patterns. I was hyper-aware of every glance, every whisper, convinced that the entire store was watching me. But then Julia did something that shifted my focus entirely. She held up a shimmery gold top and gasped dramatically. "This is so you," she said, loud enough for half the store to hear. I couldn't help but laugh at her theatricality. "You think so?" "I know so," she declared, pushing the top into my hands. Go try it on. The dressing room was a revelation. As I slipped into the gold top and paired it with a high-waisted skirt Julia had insisted I grab, I felt the fear begin to melt away. The reflection in the mirror wasn't someone hiding or apologizing for their existence. It was someone confident, someone alive. When I stepped out of the dressing room, Julia let out a low whistle. "Damn," she said, grinning from ear to ear. "You're going to turn heads." Her words gave me courage. For the rest of the shopping trip, I let myself enjoy the experience, browsing, experimenting, trying on outfits that felt like little pieces of a puzzle finally falling into place. By the time we left the store, my arms laden with bags, I felt like I had conquered a small but significant part of my fear. As our bond deepened, Julia and I began to talk about the broader implications of my journey. "Have you ever thought about exploring this on a bigger scale?" she asked one evening as we sat on her couch, surrounded by piles of clothes we were organizing. "What do you mean?" I asked, folding a pair of leggings. "I mean, have you thought about what this means for you long-term? How you want to present yourself to the world? Whether this is just about clothes or something more?" Her question hit me like a freight train. I had spent so much time reveling in the joy of self-expression that I hadn't stopped to consider the bigger picture. Was this just a hobby? A way to explore my identity in private? Or was it something deeper, something intrinsic to who I was? "I don't know," I admitted after a long pause. "I guess I'm still figuring that out." Julia nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Take your time," she said. "There's no rush. But just know that whatever you decide, I'm here for you." Her words stayed with me long after she had gone to bed. For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a future where I could live authentically, where I didn't have to compartmentalize my identity or hide behind layers of shame. One of the most pivotal moments in our journey together came a few weeks later, when Julia convinced me to attend a drag show. "It's not just about the performances," she said as we got ready. "It's about the community. You'll see." The venue was small but packed with energy. The performers were larger than life, their outfits glittering under the stage lights as they danced and lip-synced to thunderous applause. But what struck me most wasn't the spectacle, it was the audience. Everywhere I looked, I saw people unapologetically expressing themselves, their joy and confidence radiating like beacons. By the end of the night, I felt a sense of belonging I hadn't realized I was missing. Julia must have noticed, because as we left the venue, she looped her arm through mine and said, "See? You're not alone in this." Her words were a lifeline, anchoring me to a reality where acceptance and community were possible. As months turned into years, our shared wardrobe became a metaphorical safe haven, a place where I could explore, experiment, and grow without fear of judgment. Julia continued to be my greatest ally, cheering me on as I took each new step toward embracing my true self. But perhaps the most important lesson she taught me was that identity isn't a destination, it's a journey. And while the road ahead might be uncertain, it was a road I was finally ready to walk, one outfit, one moment, one discovery at a time. And as I stood in front of the mirror one evening, wearing the red dress Julia had given me so long ago, I realized that the person staring back at me wasn't just a reflection. It was me, whole, authentic, and unashamed. For the first time in my life, I felt complete. And it was all thanks to Julia, our shared wardrobe, and the unwavering belief that everyone deserves the freedom to be exactly who they are. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.